how to extract, how to take out metal from the earth crust. This is our point of discussion. This comes under the metallurgy. Till now, we discussed various steps in the metallurgical operations and some industrial plants we have seen in the form of picture. Okay. Now today we are going to discuss second part of reduction or converting ore into metal, and other part is what? Other part is how to refine the metal obtained in the step number second. Totally we have three steps. Step number one, concentration of an ore or enrichment of an ore or ore dressing. Then second is what? Once the ore is concentrated, that is sent to the step number second, known as reduction of an ore or converting concentrated ore into metal, which is the key step, most important step. Here we obtain metal almost in the pure form. Sometimes if you do minor small errors in the steps, we may get from 90% to 98%. But still, if you want 100% purity or at least 99.9 or at least 99%, we have to go to the step number 3 and the final step, that is called refining of metals obtained in the step number second. Okay, so with this introduction, I welcome you all for today's session on metallurgy. So yesterday we converted metal oxide or the oxide ore into what? Metal. Of what category? Metals belongs to moderate reactive. In this category, heat alone is not sufficient because metal is slightly more reactive. Therefore, it will go for the little stronger bond. So when the bond is strong, when the attachment is strong, naturally we require more strong conditions. In the first category, where metal belongs to least reactive, only heat was sufficient. Now in the second category, where the metal is moderate reactive, that time along with heat, one suitable chemical which can convert, which can reduce, known as a reducing agent, so was employed, and the cheap and the best reducing agent was carbon or the coke, right? Okay. Now sometimes with coke or with carbon, it is not possible to convert because there are some metal oxides or there are some oxide ores where they don't react properly with carbon because carbon is not so effective in those cases. That time we go for a little better reducing agent, though it is a costly, but the result is excellent. So cost factor may increase to some extent, but when you want a good result, naturally you go for the little costlier reducing agent. So that time we use aluminum. Aluminum is called as the 5 most reactive metal. Okay, so aluminum, if you employ in converting the oxide ore into metal, I think result is wonderful. This is employed where we want a better result. Okay, carbon is doing wonderful work. By chance, if you want a very quick result, better result, fast result, okay, not worried about the cost factor, that time you can employ aluminum as a reducing agent. One such example is what? Iron oxide, when treated with aluminum, very reactive, suddenly it will remove the iron and takes the oxygen, becomes iron, becomes aluminum oxide, and iron is made free. This is a kind of displacement reaction straight away. Because it is highly reactive, therefore lot of energy is given out. You see 847.6 kilojoules of energy is given out. So such reactions are called as what? Exothermic reactions, where heat is given out. Okay, so one more example is there of same category. Let us see. Manganese ore, MnO2. Okay, in Karnataka it is available near Ballari, or more correct area is what? Sandur. Okay, there are many mines in Sandur. I think about the Sandur mines, you read in newspaper, on TV, what all happening in the Sandur what mines. So MnO2 is a manganese ore. Okay, it is reduced using a very excellent reducing agent aluminum. Very quickly aluminum replaces the manganese. So manganese is made free here, and this is the aluminum oxide. Okay, right. And these processes where aluminum is employed, okay, as a reducing agent with a lot of energy given out. Such reactions are called as what? Aluminothermite process, or simply in a short way it is called as a thermit process. So sometimes he will ask in the examination what is meant by thermit process or aluminothermite process. Aluminothermite process is the process where certain metallic oxide ores are reduced using aluminum as a reducing agent. It is a very reactive metal, therefore reaction is highly exothermic, and that energy we use in some different way. Okay, so because of the exothermic in nature, these two reactions are used in welding processes. For example, whenever some crack is there, okay, in the iron material or iron body parts, maybe some iron railway track or something, a bridge, okay, construction part, that time when we mix aluminum and the iron oxide powder, so they react. Aluminum oxide is forms, and aluminum is made free in what form? In the liquid form, in the molten condition. Okay, and that liquid is put in the where it is placed, where the crack is there. So crack is what? Gap is there. No, in that gap we put a iron hot liquid in that gap, which will join the two cracked iron parts. Thereby, after cooling, what it is solidifies, so it is repaired. So that's why the knowledge of this we use in welding. Okay, right. Now this already I told. Okay, now we'll go to the extraction of metals, which belongs to most reactive category. Okay, most reactive means what? Bond is very strong. When the bond is very strong, heat is not sufficient, reducing agent is also not sufficient. That means we have to go for some special method where we have to break the bond in the case of most reactive metals, because name itself indicates they are most reactive, stronger bond. So that stronger bond is ruptured or broken or decomposed using electrical energy. So this process of breaking or converting concentrated ore into free metal by using electricity is known as electrolytic reduction. Okay, so in most of the metallurgical industry we follow this technique. Okay, right. Now to explain this one, I have taken how to obtain sodium metal. Sodium metal is what occurs in nature in what form? In sodium chloride in sea. 3/4 of earth is covered by seawater only, and in the seawater the major component is sodium chloride. So seawater is the best source for sodium chloride. So first we get the sodium chloride from seawater, purify it. So take it in a container. This is called as electrolytic container. So these are the two electrodes, okay, connected using the external circuit. Okay, negative electrode is called as a cathode, and the positive electrode is called as a anode, right? And this is a battery switch. All those external arrangements you have to make, right? And here we have taken sodium chloride solution, which will act as a electrolyte. Okay, right. Now when we pass current into the solution of sodium chloride, so it breaks into sodium ion and the chloride ion. Sodium being a plus ion, so naturally move towards the cathode, and the chloride is a negative ion, so it move towards the positive. Now what happens at the cathode and the anode? Please here. Okay, at anode, chlorine is negatively charged. So to become normal atom, it has to lose electron. So chloride ion loses electron at anode and becomes normal. Okay, and that is escapes from here. Chlorine gas escapes. Now these two electrons are taken by sodium, because sodium also wants to convert into normal. It is in the ionic condition. So this is sodium ion. If it want to convert into sodium atom, it wants electron. So who will give? It is a chlorine will give. So one side electron donation, other side electron acceptance. So number of electrons lost, number of electrons gained are balanced, because ultimately Matter is neither created nor destroyed. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. Matter and the energy, or the mass and energy, is maintained. This is the law of nature. Therefore, number of electrons lost must be equal to the number of electrons gained. Thereby, electronic balance take place, and one side loss of electron, one side gain of electron, and sodium metal is formed here. Where it is formed? Near the cathode. Okay, and this sodium chloride, it is a metal. It is highly reactive. Therefore, to control the reactivity of sodium, there actually it is not there in the textbook. There they use mercury. Okay, so along with mercury it is collected, which is not shown here in the diagram here. Okay, so that sodium is clubbed or mixed with mercury, which is known as alloy. Any alloy, any mixture of metal with mercury is called as amalgam. So it is made amalgam, and that is collected separately. After collection of amalgam, we will do separation of the sodium and the mercury. Then sodium we get in the pure form. In this way, we carry out electrolytic reduction for most reactive metals. Okay, right. This is for aluminum. Okay, please go through. Okay, now we'll go for the refining. Further, okay, this is called electrolytic refining. Already metal is pure, but still you want to go for further purification. So it is called fine and refine, further purification, right? So this is an example. By taking copper, it is explained here. Okay, so this is pure copper is made as cathode. Impure copper obtained in the second step number second is made as anode. Okay, when the current is passed, copper sulfate dissociates. Okay, here copper deposits. Here this impure, from the impure copper, copper comes and reacts with sulfate ion and becomes copper sulfate. Again further dissociation. All this will happen. Ultimately, entire impure copper melts and comes here and collects on the here. So this is what taken out and cut and made into small pieces and sold in the market under the name pure copper. In this way, and whatever impurity is there, it will fall down from this anode. Therefore, this is called as what? Impurity from the anode, also known as anode mud. Okay, right. Now, corrosion. Already we learnt in the lower classes. Corrosion is what? Corrosion is slow destruction of metals with what? By reacting to the immediate environment. Okay, so especially iron undergoes very quick corrosion. Therefore, among all the corrosions, it is the iron which you have to worry more, because iron is the most widely used metal in our day-to-day life, from small thing to the uh, to go for the construction of the bridge. Therefore, let us take care of iron. If iron undergoes rusting, then it becomes brittle and it becomes powder. Then a loss of iron. When the loss of iron in huge quantity leads to loss of our Indian economy, country's economy, nation's economy. Therefore, let us take care of iron. Especially iron undergoes rusting quickly with the environment. So therefore, let us take care of iron. But these are metals which will not undergo corrosion because they are least reactive. Okay, gold, platinum. Therefore, they are used for the ornaments. Whether you wear and take bath or throw in the air, no rusting at all, no corrosion at all. Okay, that's why they are costly, because of the special property. They are very costly. And in future, we are going to get some titanium utensils in our kitchen also. Please wait. Okay, they are coming. Okay, right. Now examples of corrosion. All these we learnt in the previous class. See, this is a what rusted spoon. This is a very good quality of spoon. Okay, rusting of iron. All these we learnt in the previous class. Go through the slide. Right, very easy. It's a small kind of recap. Now, this is important. Necessary condition for rusting. I told air means what? Oxygen and the water both are equally responsible. Both are required for rusting. So to do this one, a small activity. Okay, here what? Here in this test tube, this nail is comes in contact with air as well as water. Why? It is placed like this. But here you see in this test tube, it is inside the thoroughly boiled water. Okay, only water, no air. Air is removed after boiling. So here only water contact is there, but not air contact. Or oil is there, no, so no air contact. Here in this test tube, okay, anhydrous calcium chloride is taken its nature is to absorb all the air, moisture content water. Air is there, but water will absorb. So in this test tube, air is there, no water. In this test tube, water is there, no air. So in this test tube, both are there. Now see, in which test tube it undergoes rusting after 1 week, you check it, you keep it for 1 week. You will see that in this test tube only iron undergoes rusting due to the both conditions are there. But here only one condition, no rusting, no rusting, rusting. So these are the two important conditions. How to prevent? Either you convert the iron into steel alloying, okay, or some special protections are made, coat with zinc, coat with magnesium, okay, or galvanization, which is very important process. So we coat chemically permanently zinc on the calcium, that is known as what? Galvanization. That only we use in our day-to-day life. It is called as GI, galvanized iron, GI. And the tinning process is also called applying tin. Okay, all those are there. Kindly go through. See, if you see your excuse me, if you see your history, no, already our ancestors have made a very good quality of alloys. See this alloy, rust-free alloy, very beautiful statue you have seen, no, in the temples, in the museum. It's a pillar in Delhi. Okay, till today it is rustless. Okay, no rusting. That means that time only they were knowing how to make an alloy. Like this, you have seen the many parts of our India. So even in Bijapur, also we have seen such a ancient museum. So they also no rusting at all. So cleverly they have made all these are. This is what different types of alloys made, their composition and their uses also kindly go through. Okay, so this is the alloy for copper, lead alloy. This is iron alloy, aluminum. So all these are alloys because alloys are better than pure metals. Okay, right. So with this, we'll conclude today's session. Right. So if at all remaining slides are there, kindly go through and we'll be ready for the examination. Okay, very interesting chapter. But till then, have a nice time and thank you one and all.